I'll read the public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and citizens to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow citizens. At any time, should any member of the board or any citizen fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a guaranteed commitment to the public charge is observed. As a courtesy to others, please turn off your cell phones during this meeting. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Carter if she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Are there any agenda adjustments? Hearing none. Any announcements that's not listed? Before we go further, we have a moment of silence for what's happening in our country today, just for the officers that have been killed and others, was even to our community. There was a shooting last night. If we could just have a moment of silence. Thank you. We have quite a few announcements tonight. For the public, I'm going to identify the announcements and then mention the websites, and then anyone that's interested can go to the website to get the rest of the information. So I'll start with the first one is Community Input Sessions, DSS Main Redevelopment. Durham County is seeking your input on the redevelopment of the former DSS building located at 220 East Main Street. There will be meetings held on January 16th from 10 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. and then Tuesday, January the 19th from 5:30 p.m. until 7. Please, you can check out the website, Durham County's website, or there's a phone number listed on that website that you can call as well. And the number is 877-853-5257. Number 2, your feedback is needed, and the City County Planning Department is ready to present the initial results of input through its draft community objectives. And this is another website that you can go to find out all the information about this. And this is about the comprehensive plan process. That's mysocialpinpoint.com/comprehensive plan. The next one is COVID-19 vaccine, Durham County Resident Survey. And that's another website that you can go to. So we have quite a few websites. Number 4, need help planning your heating bill, is a website as well. Programming updates for the Durham County Library. Check out these events at www.eventsdurhamcountylibrary.org/events. The next one is Book Harvest, 10th Annual Book Drive and Community Celebration. Please join Book Harvest as they kick off the 10th Annual Dream Big Book Drive and Community Celebration on January 18th. And you can also find that information on Facebook. Yes, you can find the details on Facebook. The next one is North Carolina for Military Employment. It's a virtual hiring event. And job seekers are invited to attend a virtual hiring event on January 27th from 9:45 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can also find that information on the website. Durham Pre-K Family Information Sessions will be held on February 6, 2021. And they are held for English 9 a.m. to 10, and Spanish is 10:30 to 11 a.m. And please also visit the website for that information.
Excuse me, Commissioner, Chair Howard, I don't think you saw my hand in the beginning when you asked about other announcements. But I
did not.
Okay, I just want one thing to share.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Vick.
I just wanted to share, when I looked at the announcements, to add that right now, folks can sign up for the public health electronic newsletter that comes out 3 times a week, and it is a fantastic source of information about the vaccine rollout. So I just wanted to encourage residents to sign up for the newsletter, and I know there's information about it on the public health page and on the Durham County Public Health Facebook page. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is our minutes. We have November 23rd, 2020, December 14th, 2020, and then the regular session, December 16th, 2020, reconvened sessions. If I can permit a motion to accept the minutes unless there are some concerns.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Voice vote. Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns? Yay. Commissioner Alam?
Aye.
And Commissioner Carter?
I'm tempted to say we, just to have a different language, but I'll say aye.
And I'm an aye, so it's 5, it passes 5-0. We have a few ceremonial items. The first one, 0023, is a resolution celebrating and honoring the life and service of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And the resource person on this is Warren Langley, chair of the Durham MLK Steering Committee. So I'm going to read the resolution, and then Warren, if you are here, there you are, right there. Okay. So the board is requested to issue a resolution celebrating and honoring the life and service of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The purpose of the resolution is to recognize and honor the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. and his commitment to a free and just world. In addition to calling on the residents of Durham County to join the Durham Community Martin Luther King Jr. Steering Committee, Inc., in reflecting on the advancing Dr. King's life and fulfilling his dream. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to equality, social justice, economic advancement, and opportunity for all. Dr. King used his gift of oratory to awakening America to the realities of life for African Americans and to make life better for all by encouraging change through nonviolent means. The 2021 virtual King Holiday celebration will include the virtual annual religious service. Each year, the Durham Community Martin Luther King Jr. Steering Committee, Inc. plans appropriate ceremonies and programs in recognition of the King holiday to preserve the legacy and example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I will read the resolution. It's a long one. Whoa. Okay. Whereas a champion of nonviolence and justice, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to strengthening the content of America's character and fought unrelentingly for the civil rights of all Americans and taught us that courage displaces fear, love transforms hate, acceptance depicts prejudice, and mutual regard cancels entity. And whereas in the face of hatred and violence, Dr. King preached a doctrine of nonviolence and civil disobedience to combat segregation, discrimination, and racial injustice, and believed that people have the moral capacity to care for other people. And whereas Dr. King was one of the leaders of the successful 381-day Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 to protest the arrest of Rosa Parks and the segregation of the bus system. And whereas Dr. King helped found and served as the first president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957 to coordinate and support nonviolence direct action as a method of desegregating bus systems across the South. And whereas between 1960 and 1964, Dr. King made addresses in Durham at White Rock Baptist Church, the Durham Business and Professional Chain, Hillside High School, the Southern Political Science Association, at the Jack Carr Hotel, North Carolina College, now North Carolina Central University, and Duke University, urging civil disobedience and nonviolent protests to end racial segregation and discrimination. And whereas Dr. King traveled more than 600,000 miles, spoke more than 2,500 times, and wrote 5 books and numerous articles supporting efforts across the country to end injustice and bring about social change and desegregation between 1957 and 1968. And whereas on August 28, 1963, Dr. King led the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, the largest rally of the civil rights movement, during which, from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and before a crowd of more than 200,000 people, Dr. King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech in which he called for an end to racism and advocated for the civil and economic rights of African Americans. And whereas on March The March on Washington was instrumental in the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religious, sex, or national origin, and prohibited unequal application of voter registration requirements and racial segregation in schools, employment, and public accommodations. Whereas Dr. King helped to organize the monumental Inspiring Selma to Alabama March in 1965 to advocate the passage of Voting Rights Act in 1965 to guarantee African American civil rights to vote. And whereas Dr. King was supporting the garbage workers in Memphis, Tennessee, and planning the Poor People's Campaign to promote economic justice when he was assassinated in Memphis on April 4th, 1968. And now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby resolve to recognize and honor the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his commitment to improve the human condition of all people through adoption of a racial equity framework for governmental decision-making, access to quality education, affordable housing, equal opportunity, shared prosperity, living wage employment, safe and humane labor conditions for all employees, and quality health care. Be it resolved that the Durham Board of Commissioners call on the residents of Durham County to join us in reflecting on and advancing Dr. King's life and fulfilling his dream. This, the 11th day of January, 2021. DeJuan Langley, if you'd like to have something to say.
Yes. Thank you, Chair Howerton and members of the Board of County Commissioners for recognizing Dr. King with this resolution. The Durham MLK Committee every year hosts events in honor of Dr. King to preserve his life and legacy. And Dr. King devoted his life to equality, social justice, economic advancement, and opportunity for all. As a community in the midst of a pandemic, we must use Dr. King's example as a guide in addressing our most critical issues through collective action to create, strengthen, and sustain opportunities for all to promote economic opportunity and ensure proper investment for those most in need in our community to promote long-term success. With the challenges of COVID, our celebrations this year will be virtual, starting with this resolution celebrating and honoring the life and service of Dr. King. On Thursday, January the 14th, we received a resolution from the Durham Public Schools Board of Education. Then on Monday, January the 18th, the 41st virtual interfaith prayer breakfast will be held by the Triangle Martin Luther King Jr. Steering Committee, with the keynote speaker being Bishop Michael Curry, the 27th presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church. That event will be streamed on WRAL. Then we will have our virtual annual religious service with keynote speaker Pastor Frederick A. Davis of First Calvary Baptist Church. There's a registration link that we will be sure to get to the commissioners and staff of Durham County government. At that event, we will also award academic scholarships to students, seniors in Durham Public Schools, as well as our Keeper of the Dream Award for one organization and one individual. We will conclude our events with a resolution from the Durham City Council on January the 19th. We all have a responsibility to work to improve our community for the betterment of all citizens, which includes continuing the unfinished business of eliminating racism, injustice, and inequity where it exists in policies or practices to advance equity. Thank you all so very much for this resolution honoring the life and service of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Thank you so much, DeJuan. It's always such a pleasure and a joy to read the words that you write about such an incredible man that out his. Thank you. Commissioners, anything from the commissioners? Any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Jacobs?
Well, I just wanted to also acknowledge, Warren, your leadership on the Martin Luther King Steering Committee for, I don't know how many years. How many years has it been, Warren?
I have been serving now for 13 years.
13 years. And so just really appreciate your leadership on this. And I know the next proclamation is from you as well. And I always look forward to this day. I know it's going to be different this year, but it's still going to be great. And I look forward to getting the schedule. Will you be emailing that to us?
Yes.
And then we can help push it out to the community?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, DeWarn. And so you have another proclamation. The next one is on National Mentoring Month. And I've asked Commissioner Burns if she would read this one for us.
Madam Chair, are you going to go ahead and adopt that resolution before you move to the next item?
Sure. So I need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt the resolution celebrating and honoring the life and service of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. A voice vote, starting with Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Jacobs.
Aye.
Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
And Commissioner Alam.
Aye.
And I'm aye, so passes 5-4. Thank you. All right, now we go to the next one. Proclamation National Mentoring Month.
Okay, I'll just do the first of the agenda text. We'll move on. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is National Mentoring Month, and the board is requested to issue a proclamation declaring January 2021 National Mentoring Month in Durham County. The goal of the proclamation is to urge all residents of Durham County to rededicate ourselves to preventing youth from entering the juvenile and criminal justice systems and recommit to building a community where all our youth can grow, flourish, take Durham County to new and greater heights through effective mentoring relationships. The proclamation reads as such. Whereas created in 2002 by the Harvard School of Public Health Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership, January 2021 marks the 19th anniversary of National Mentoring Month, annual campaign to focus attention on the need for quality, consistent, and competent mentors. And whereas a mentor is a caring, dependable, and authentic person that provides a consistent presence, guidance, and devotes time to a young person to help that youth discover personal growth, to persevere, and achieve their potential through a structured and trusting relationship. And whereas quality mentoring encourages, empowers youth to make positive choices, promote self-esteem and character development, support academic achievement, leadership and professional development, career exploration, and introduce youth to new ideas. And whereas the goal of National Mentoring Month are to raise awareness of mentoring, recruit individuals to mentor, encourage organizations to engage and integrate quality mentoring into their efforts with a focus on academic support, life skills training, career readiness, and workforce preparations to motivate youth to excel. And whereas during COVID-19 pandemic, mentoring programs have stepped up to fill gaps for youth and families, connecting them to all resources, connecting them with resources, and ensuring that mentoring relationships continue virtually to prevent social disconnection and mitigate learning loss. And whereas positive youth development theory understands adolescence as a distinct development phase where boundary testing and individual identity development are critical steps on the path to adulthood, steps that need to be supported, nurtured, cultivated by patient and caring young adults in safe environments. And whereas research shows that youth who meet regularly with mentors are more than 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school, youth who face an opportunity gap but have a mentor are 55% more likely to be enrolled in college than those who do not have a mentor. Youth who meet regularly with mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs and 27% less likely to start drinking. And whereas mentors serve a critical role in helping youth successfully complete high school and gain admission to college, equipped with the skills and competencies they need competencies, competence they need to success. Should that be succeed? It's right. It is not me. They need to succeed in college and build new in-demand skills, prepare for the future of work, and succeed in an ever-changing workforce. Whereas mentoring programs must incorporate work-based learning to prepare and connect youth with real-life experiences where they can apply academic, technical, and soft skills and develop their employability while exploring career pathways. And whereas National Mentoring Month is the time of year to celebrate, elevate, and encourage mentoring in Durham County. Now, therefore, let's see, it says we, the Durham Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2021 as National Mentoring Month in Durham County, and hereby call upon public officials, businesses, community leaders, educators, and citizens to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs in order to recognize the men and women who serve as staff and volunteers at quality mentoring programs and help our youth find inner strength and reach their full potential. Acknowledge that mentoring is beneficial because it facilitates healthy identity development, encourages educational achievement, reduces juvenile delinquency, expands career readiness, improves life outcomes, and strengthens community. Promote the creation, expansion, sustainability, and funding of quality mentoring programs across Durham to equip youth with the tools needed to lead healthy, productive, meaningful lives, and support initiatives to close the academic achievement, opportunity, and mentoring gaps, and promote critical mentoring to support boys of color with mentors who perceive and understand social, political, and economic racism and oppression to take action against racism and oppressive elements of society. This the 11th day of 2020. And special shout out, I know Commissioner Jacobs has already given to Warren one, but another congratulations is in order. I know just recently you were awarded the Public Service Award by the Durham Chamber, so we all applaud you because you wear so many hats in the community and you make it look very easy. And you get these proclamations to us to make sure that we don't forget what is most important, and that is our. So I think I kick it back to Chair Howerton, who will then bring up our resource person, Warren.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Thank you. So, yes, Warren, you'd like to have some words?
Yes, thank you so very much, Commissioner Burns, for reading that proclamation, and members of the Board of County Commissioners for recognizing and declaring January 2021 as National Mentoring Month in Durham County. The City of Durham, the Durham City Council issued a proclamation last Tuesday declaring January 2021 as National Mentoring Month here in the City of Durham. And then there will be a proclamation from the Durham Public Schools Board of Education on Thursday. I'm here representing the Charles Hamilton Houston Foundation, which is an academic leadership and professional development nonprofit organization which provides a continuum of programs and service and mentorship to educate, engage, empower, and equip boys and young men of color with the strategies they need to secure social economic success. We do so by providing innovative leadership and professional development programs for college and career readiness, facilitate connection with professional opportunities to become high results leaders in corporations, governments, nonprofits, and entrepreneurial ventures, and transform academic policies and practices. Every year we invite other organizations that provide mentoring services. However, due to COVID, they are not able to be here, but I did want to recognize a number of other organizations that are partnering and sponsoring this resolution, this proclamation, including Men of Vision, the Thomas Mentor Leadership Academy, the D.L. Forbes Youth Foundation, Project Bill, the Durham Proud Program, Jubilee Home, We Are Kings Boys of Color Program of Durham Public Schools, Brother to Brother Mentoring Program at Pearsontown Elementary School, Rhoda Generation, the National Society of Black Engineers, Research Triangle Professionals, My Brother's Keeper Durham, Audacity Lab, Mentor North Carolina, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of the Triangle. Thank you all so very much, and you will receive an email with information and contact persons for each of the organizations that were just mentioned. Thank you all so very much, and as you all prepare for your upcoming budget, please keep in mind the work of mentoring organizations in this community, because our organizations need your support, and we look forward to continuing to work with you all and the rest of the community in improving the lives of our young people. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Dewan. Comments from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Jacobs?
Well, thank you, Dwarn, and I just wanted to quickly respond to what you said and to let you know that we have a nonprofit funding process that's going to be operated through the Durham Office on Youth, and will be focused on some funding to be distributed to youth, and they're going to be overseeing that with their membership. So I just wanted to let you know that's an opportunity for you to share with all the mentoring organizations. So thank you so much for your leadership and the way that you do bring everybody together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Again, thank you, Dewan. It is always an honor that you take it upon yourself, and you've been doing this for years, that mentoring is important to you. I know that you have been mentored over the years, and I have seen and I hear you how important it is that you play it forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And do we need to do we need a motion to accept this one, manager? Okay, so ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
I make a motion that we approve this, I make a motion that we approve this proclamation for national.
Okay, thank you.
I second.
A second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. Have a motion and a second and a voice vote. Commissioner Long?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Burns?
We.
And I am an aye, so it passes 5-0. Thank you. So the next item is also an award honors 0655, and is Durham County Main Library 220 AIA, North Carolina, American Institute of Architects Honor Award, the inaugural Freelon Public Architecture Award, and NOMA National Association of Minority Architects citation. This one has quite a few honors attached to it. So the board, it will recognize the main library project team for receiving the 2020 AIA National North Carolina Honor Award, the inaugural Freeland Public Architecture Award, and NOMA Built category citation. So starting with Perry Mann, Brenda Hayes, I think we got quite a few people on this one. You guys want to take it over? Brenda, you there? Carrie available as well?
We're here, Commissioners. Good afternoon, and thanks for taking the time to recognize the team for this award.
Absolutely.
Commissioners, on behalf of the County Engineering Department, we'd like to thank Ms. Brenda Hayes Bright for bringing this project to fruition. She worked tirelessly to make sure that the project was completed on time and within budget. And again, for all of her hard work, she's honored tonight to be able to recognize the team for these distinctions. So thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, county manager, county attorney, and general managers for having us here to recognize this wonderful project. Having worked on this project for 6 years, I was able to see it grow from early design to completion. It's almost like having a child, a 6-year-old. I would like to offer kudos to the county commissioners for adopting the regional plan over 10 years ago to update all of the regional libraries, with the culmination being the renovation to the main library project. And recognizing the design team, Vines Architecture. The contractors on this project were a joint venture between Skanska and Holt Brothers Construction. The library team, Tammy Baggett, Sandra Lovely, Faith Burns, and Joel White. And let's not forget, this project could not have come to fruition without county department, general services, finance, purchasing, legal, budget, county managers, county IS&T, as well as the library foundation. It's been a joy to work on this project. We can't play favorite, but the design team on this project at this time was, for me, a dream team. And I'll hand this project over to Victor.
Thank you, Brenda, for having us. I'd like to thank, say hello to everyone on the call, commissioners, Durham County officials, and everyone else that I can't actually see. I think there's few people here, but I do just want to make, I want to echo what Brenda has said regarding the project. As she has mentioned, the design team being a dream team. From my perspective, the team that has worked on this project, which several are on the call today, Jeff, Caitlin, and Frank. I think Jacob may be on the call as well. They have been an absolute joy for me to personally work with in the firm, and to have them in the firm and to work on a project of this significance. The other group of people I want to thank, and there's a range of them, and that's everyone that had placed the confidence in the firm at the offset of being awarded this project, to have the confidence in our firm to deliver such a project. And I know that is not an easy choice or decision at the time, but I greatly appreciate everyone having that confidence and placing it in us, and it truly has been a project of extreme joy. I'm not sure I want to reference it to having a child, but I can reference it to something similar, maybe. So, personally, I haven't, but in all seriousness, this has been a at least I try not to play favors to projects in the office, but normally what happens is they the special ones percolate to the top on their own, and this one definitely has done that. And I thank everyone within Durham, community, the commissioners, county manager, everyone, design and facilities, for allowing us the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are there others of your team that want to speak?
Jeff or Caitlin or Frank, guys, don't be bashful. 3 minutes of fame here.
Absolutely. It warrants it.
Madam Chair, I think Caitlin has her hand up.
Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin, go ahead. I can't see you. That's why.
Oh, hi. Victor's always hard to follow up with a speech, but it was truly a wonderful project to work on. I've worked on several of the regional projects through previous association, and it was great to continue my career with the county and on a library project. So it was a wonderful experience, and we're honored to be here. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, commissioners, anything for you? Okay, Commissioner Jacobs? Can't seem to get
Well,
this
I
up.
just want to, first of all, commend our staff and Brenda, yes, for giving birth to this incredible project. And you know, everybody that's been a part of it, all of you from Victor and all of your team from Vines Architecture, Tammy and Baggett and all of the library staff, and it's just been a great collaborative project, and all the awards that you've gotten, because you know on our agenda it notes that there's also four other previous awards that the main library has gotten as well. I think that though for me this one feels really special because this is connected to Phil Freelon. And I know, Victor, your company you used to work with Phil Freelon, and that Vines Architecture, and you can correct me on this, was started as an outgrowth of that. But I think for me, thinking about Phil Freelon right now, and just that special meaning of it being this first inaugural award in his name, and how he has put his imprint on the Durham community. And now this feels like another kind of outgrowth of that with all of you, and thinking about our Health and Human Services building that literally has his quote, which has kind of been my personal mantra, but is really one of our guiding philosophies of Durham County government, really came from Phil Freelon. So I just wanted to recognize him and his legacy as well in this great celebration. Thank you.
Commissioner Jacobs, that's a very appropriate statement to make. That is absolutely all true. I do want to add that not only myself, but several others, Jeff, Caitlin, Bob Thomas, Frank Jackson, a lot of the other folks that you all have been working with on the project also are disciples of Phil Freelon and the Freelon Group. And so it truly is a representation of, I think, many things that he taught several of us when it comes to his legacy. And I hope he looks favorably upon the project, which I believe he would. So thank you for those comments and associations.
And I see you, Commissioner Burns. Let me just check with Tammy Baggett. I see the director of the library, if she'd like to have a comment, and then I'll come to you, Commissioner
Yes.
Burns.
Yes, thank you. I echo all the words that Victor and Brenda and others have said about how great it's been to work with the team. The library is absolutely amazing, and it's because of Vines Architecture and team listening to us, listening to the community, and providing something that the community absolutely love. It's just a crown jewel, definitely, for Durham. And I'd like to also recognize the hard work of Brenda especially. I got to know Brenda working on this project, and she is just a star employee for Durham County government. She sits quietly in the background, but she gets amazing work done, and she has really pushed all of these efforts forward for us. And then I would be remiss if I did not recognize the Durham Library Foundation for providing the $1.2 million towards this project as well. So thank you all, and we are looking forward to one day opening that main library.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Commissioner Burns?
I will keep it very quick. I loved the old libraries to, go there, read to the kids on the weekend. So I don't have little ones, so, I can go over there and then I can give them back to their mama. So I'm happy that the library is back open so that I can once again, start to do that. But you all created an aesthetically pleasing place, because I think, sometimes people forget when you read, you want to be very comfortable. When you learn, you want to be very comfortable. And I did not think about, though I was thinking about him about the award, Commissioner Jacobs brought up a quote. I thought about a quote from Walter Cronkite. He said, whatever the cost of our libraries, the price is cheap compared to that of an ignorance. And with as much ignorance as we have going on right now, I'm happy to say that we have a place that is opening, that's open, that is welcoming, and I just look forward to people going into that space, learning whatever it is that they need to learn so that history does not repeat itself. I just thank you all for it. And when you open, I'll be the lady in the back with the bears. So much. Appreciate it.
Manager Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take this opportunity to certainly say to Victor that, 20 years ago, when we started down this path, the county had 2 facility master plans. One of those master plans was for our facilities over in the county, and of course, the second one was the facility master plan that was developed just for our library system. Phil Freelon had the good fortune of designing several of those regional libraries. And of course, Victor, the work that you have done on our main library facility is certainly the capstone of that 20-year labor. Phil didn't get an opportunity to see the downtown library, of course. Phil was a close friend of mine. But I'm absolutely certain that he would be elated by what you have done for us in our downtown. I'm going to go ahead and make a confession now also to Victor. Brenda and Perry know this, but we had our admin 2 building that had been completed, and of course the 7th floor of that building had not reached build out because the commissioners had to give us the funds to finish that project. So the 7th floor came on a little late. So as the library facility was coming along, I'll have to confess I would run over there to that 7th floor just about every other day because it was a clear sight line over to the main library just to see the progress, because I was most eager to understand how that 3rd floor was going to sort of come about. But you guys have done a phenomenal job. I want to thank certainly Perry Mans and Jay Gibson and Brenda, project team. It's been phenomenal watching this project come forward. And as Tammy said, and as I've said each time we open one of these libraries, our libraries represent our centers of enlightenment, and they indeed should speak to future generations about what we mean in our present day society. And so you've certainly done a phenomenal job in making that structure just that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, did you have your hand up, Commissioner Long? So I think it's everything that need to be said has been said, but I just want to also just say thank you, and it's just an incredible, incredible place. And as I was reading through the material, it was just a joy to just read about all the awards. So I just say kudos to all of Brenda and your team and your dream team. You guys have done a fabulous job. Say thank you.
Thank you.
I did want to make one other And I think the library and the county, you guys are doing a fantastic job marketing the library, even though it's not open. A lot of the material I see out is done very, very well and is extremely exciting. So I'm pleased to see that level of attention being paid to how it's being marketed under the conditions we are finding ourselves.
Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
So, commissioners, we are down to our consent agenda. And before the manager goes through any of this, if there is anything that the commissioners know that they want to pull, my recommendation is that you pull it now, and we will put it at the end of the agenda and discuss it at that time. All right, Commissioner Jacob, yes?
Well, I would like to just make a quick comment on one item, not pull it.
Commissioner Jacobs, we want to pull the things that you want to comment on so that we can keep the agenda moving.
Okay, so even if it's a one sentence statement, you'd rather pull it.
Is it a 30-second comment that you want to make, or is it longer conversation that you want to have?
Not a conversation, just a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to just note for the public record on item 21-006, the interlocal sales tax agreement with the city of Durham, that I am concerned about this issue and that it has been on past agenda work plans for several years. It's been a priority of this board for those issues to be resolved, and I just want to note that I remain concerned about that agreement.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? If no one else has anything, do you want to go through them, Mr. Manager?
No, we went through them last week at the work session, so we can move.
Chair Howerton, I have a
Yes.
question.
Sure.
This is related to the boards and commissions. I just had a quick question regarding the Joint City County Planning Commission. I saw there was a question mark. Does that mean there's a vacancy on that board?
Did I put a question mark on
Yeah,
yours?
it says, no, it's the Joint City County Planning, you and Commissioner Jacobs are serving on it, and it says there's 3 spots, and I was
Yes.
wondering if
Yeah,
maybe-
there are 3. Commissioner Jacobs serves as this year it rotates.
Oh,
So
yeah,
this year she's serving as the chair, and then next year a county person will serve as the vice chair, and the city person will serve as the chair. So each year it rotates back and forth.
So I was wondering, so there's 3 spots on that board, but I saw 2 names. Is it a possibility to serve on that board as well?
I think there are 3 people
Okay.
on there.
There's only 2
Yeah,
people on the list.
Did you check? I think there are 3. Let me look at that. Or we can pull it and look at it later. Where is my list?
Because if I'm not mistaken, I was the alternate, so I don't know that was.
Okay. Yeah, this is the
You know what,
Durham.
Hold on just 1 second. Joint City County Planning. 1, 2. Okay, I may have left one person off. Okay, so if it's okay for with the commissioners, let's go ahead and approve what we have here, and then we can go back and amend. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Mr. Manager? Okay, let's, we can amend later, to go back through that one. Okay? All right, so can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
sorry, before the motion, I'd like to pull the Hope Learning Center item, please. It won't be a long discussion. I'd be happy to do it right now real fast, but I'm trying to abide by your suggestion that we pull things. I don't think it'll be a long discussion.
Let's just pull it and put it at the back, the Hope Learning Center.
Yes, please.
All right, let's just pull it.
And actually, I wanted to pull the item 21-0032 about the screeners.
Okay, pull it and pull it at the back. What's that number again?
21-0032.
Okay. So there are two items that we're pulling. Okay. So could we get a motion to approve?
Point of clarification, are there 3 items that you're pulling?
No, 2.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
I thought I heard one on joint city-county planning, and that,
We're gonna approve the
We're gonna
appointment
approve.
as is, and then come back to it at a later date.
okay, all right.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve 20-665 through 21-0033 with an exception of, no, we pulled 20-003. So we pulled that one. And what was the one that you wanted, Heidi?
I don't have the number, but it's the Hope Learning Center. Do you want me to find the
Okay,
number?
is that, no, that's the 21-0003.
21-0003.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve all except those 2?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been moved and properly second. A voice vote. Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Aye.
Mr. Burns,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Commissioner
I'm an aye.
Alon? I got you, okay. Passes 5-0. Okay, the next item is our county public health director focuses on an update. So Rob, you can give us an update, please.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon, or good evening, I should say, Madam Chair and fellow members of the board. And I think it's still in good taste to say Happy New Year. First
Thank
time
you.
I've been able to see you all, and certainly hope that you had your holidays spent safely, and you're ready to go and fit to fight, ready to fight the good fight for 2021. I just want to just say before I go into my COVID update, just to say that I certainly want to urge our residents to double down, if not triple down, on the 3 W's. You know, particularly now, we still have raging surge going on, and we know now more than ever that, you know, it's just important for us to avoid large gatherings, stay home as much as possible, continue to practice your social distancing, wearing your mask, face coverings, and more importantly, washing your hands. We're seeing good results from that, particularly around the flu. It's not even talked about as much, and that's because we're practicing some good public health mitigation strategies. And then we're also fortunate, of course, to have the vaccine, but we still want to adhere to these public health measures for the foreseeable future to remain safe. Unfortunately, we continue to see the effects of holiday travel, particularly Christmas gatherings. Those individuals who chose not to remain safe and remain in their pods. And we've not yet seen the effects, ladies and gentlemen, of the New Year's Eve events and travel. That's still to come. So I think in a nutshell, I will say that the next 4 to 6 weeks are going to be trying for us in Durham as well as the state. And we'll weather the storm. However, we still have some pretty tough days ahead of us. Our current total active cases, 1,249 total active cases. 15,443 individuals have beat COVID. Unfortunately, with the sustained, prolonged surge comes a number of deaths. We're sitting at 151 deaths due to COVID. Our thoughts and prayers will always be with those Durhamites who've lost loved ones to COVID-19. Our total since the pandemic began last year is 16,848 total cases. Overall case trends, of course, we look at the 7-day average of new cases to let us know whether or not trends are increasing or decreasing. And we're starting to see sort of an up and down. The 7-day moving average for last week was 122 cases. 2 weeks ago was 98. A week and a half ago was probably 144 cases. So we're starting to see sort of a bounce, and that's indicative of what we're seeing in terms of holiday gatherings and confirmed positives that are coming into our office. The month of December, ladies, were not kind to us. It was not kind to us at all. There were 3,790 total cases. By far one of the highly impacted months that we've had since the pandemic began. And again, we started seeing an uptick in cases around early November. Then we had 2 consecutive holidays where gatherings were really happened, and there you have it. So North Carolina's lab confirmed cases continue to increase, along with Durham's increase in our lab confirmed cases. As always, we keep a close eye on race and ethnicity, promoting health equity at every turn, as it is a central tenet of Durham County Department of Public Health. And even with these high number of cases, the statistics as far as our demographics remain relatively the same. Our Hispanic or Latinx continue to be overrepresented at 22.4% of our cases, although they represent 14% of Durham's population. Black or African American, again, slightly overrepresented at 39.26%, although they represent 37% of our overall population. White individuals underrepresented still at 27.18% of our cases, although they represent 54% of our population. In terms of work, again, not much change. We're still seeing Black or African American females in the hospital, general medicine, or surgical sectors being affected at 72.62% of our cases being female. Nursing care facilities, although there is a long-term care facility partnership with CVS and Walgreens for COVID vaccines, that's going to take a little while to work through. However, we still have a lot of cases in nursing care facilities affecting Black women at 52.12% of all of our cases. And in the professional, scientific, and technical services affecting white females at 51.47% of all of our cases. Our positive lab percentage continues to increase, but there's some variation. The state reports it at 11% for last week, whereas Duke's model reports it at 6.6%. And of course, we do know that the state of North Carolina has, sky high lab percentage, positive percentage with well over 13%, whereas Duke's model has them at 9.3%. We continue to watch COVID-19's impact on daycare and school-age children, those individuals who are under the age of 18 and under. And for the month of December, we had 443 total cases, representing 11.69% of all our cases. And of course, as you know, Durham Public Schools did make the decision after careful consideration to unanimously approve remaining in phase C then. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk about a little important topic, vaccine. And I promise I'll be real brief. Although I will say that I think I'll start off, members of the board, by saying how much I appreciate the patience of our residents. It's quite clear that in the midst of a pandemic with life-saving vaccine within reach, it is easy to see and feel the desire of our residents to have access to this vaccine. And of course, I've said it before and I'll say it again, demand far exceeds supply at present. However, I'm still confident in saying that everyone who desires to have this vaccine will receive their shot. It will be a while until everyone has the opportunity to get their vaccines. I'll be very forthright and transparent, but we are so grateful for the patience and continue to stay tuned to accurate information and continue to practice public health mitigation strategy. Durham is fortunate at present to have both vaccines in supply. We do have an ultra cold storage freezer that is up and running, that is stocked with Pfizer vaccine through a fantastic partnership with North Carolina Central University's Afford program that was free of charge. We do remain at present still in phase 1A, and we will safely move into phase 1B the week of January 19, 2021. We are continuing to vaccinate our frontline workers as outlined in phase 1A, and we also will be providing continue to provide vaccine to our community partners who are enrolled as eligible providers. A bit about that. We have remained in phase 1A primarily because we have a large healthcare workforce. Durham is not called the city of medicine for nothing. And for the most part, we are doing our absolute best to get through phase 1A. I can tell the listeners and my board that for the most part, we will have a blended phase. We will still be in phase 1A as we make our way into phase 1B. That is to be expected for larger counties. As I also said during my weekly address to Durham, a lot of it depends on your supply of vaccine. It also depends on your ability to pivot and schedule. There are a lot of logistical considerations, but most importantly, we have to be very, very careful with this life-saving vaccine. My intent is to have my staff not to waste a drop of the vaccine. So that means that when we thaw out that vaccine, we have to make sure that we have the people present to make sure we give the vaccine so we don't waste it. That has been one of the biggest hurdles that we've had to traverse. I'm also proud to say to my members of the Board of County Commissioners that we have an excellent partnership with Duke, and we're currently in the process of looking at having a centralized vaccination depot, if you will, at Southern High School. I'd like to thank Dr. Mabenga for allowing us to utilize Southern High School, and we're currently in the process of just kind of going through the logistics, but we certainly hope to have that up and running sooner rather than later. Similar to what I like to call the crown jewel of our COVID-19 response, which was the Holton site, still is the Holton site. Public Health will do the scheduling for this, and we'll work in concert with Duke in order to ensure that we get our residents there. Southern High School does present an easier logistical challenge as far as huge parking lot, huge cafeteria, so we can observe individuals after they've been vaccinated. We are required to observe our residents for 15 to 30 minutes after they've gotten the vaccine. It just makes things a whole lot easier. I'm also proud to announce that we have been working with Anthony Scott, Durham Housing Authority, to ensure that the seniors that are within his purview are able to get their vaccines. And again, we at Durham Public Health have been working around the clock to ensure that we're able to safely and effectively ensure that our seniors who are 75 years and older are able to safely come into our agency and be able to get their vaccines. So we're delighted about it. I know you may have some questions, and I hope to have some answers.
Well, thank you, Rod. You do an extraordinary job as always in explaining the things that's going on, and we truly appreciate it because the public has been sending us emails, asking us questions, and for me, I've been sending them to the expert to answer those questions for the public. So I want to thank you for that response, and I'm going to open it up to commissioners. The commissioners, so this item was supposed to be for 10 minutes. So we've gone over that already. So I'm going to extend the time and ask commissioners to manage their questions. If you have more than 3 questions, then send Rob an email and allow him to answer those questions if you have more than 3 questions tonight, so that each commissioner has an opportunity to ask the question. Okay? So we'll start with Commissioner Lum.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you so much, Director Rod, for all of the work you've been doing around the pandemic response and the vaccination rollout. I know that you have not just been talking the talk, you've been also walking the walk, and you recently got your COVID vaccination. And I was wondering if you could just give a report so like community members can build trust with the vaccine and we can get a better understanding of if you experienced any side effects or if any other county staff have reported any sort of side effects. Really helpful.
Thank you, and good evening to you, Commissioner Lum, and thank you for that question. I thought it not robbery to go ahead and get the vaccine, and I will say that it was a great experience. To be very forthright, some of the lingering effects include pain at the injection site. It also includes the possibility of a low-grade fever, and you may incur some body aches, and I think headache. And those are some of the things that I felt. I took the vaccine on the 23rd, and I had some Christmas duties the next day. It was a little tough to get through some of those Christmas fatherly duties with my left arm, primarily because of the pain at the injection site. But I will say that, again, the next day, took it a little easy, got some rest. The next day felt fine. And I did participate in a COVID-19 forum at St. Joseph's AME Church this past Saturday. It was well received, and I will say that it was a pleasure to meet Exhibit A for the triangle. The first person to get her vaccine was a nurse, and we had similar reactions. But nevertheless, it's simply your body, really reacting to a new entrant into it, and I felt fine after. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Jenkins, as always, for the great report. My question is about vaccination rates, and is there a target, I guess, is there a target vaccination rate to which we're aspiring? I know we're gearing up, and it's great to hear about Southern High School and your work with Housing Authority. Wondering if we have a target to which we're aspiring.
On the grander scale, Commissioner Carter, good evening to you. On the grander scale, 500,000 doses administered by Memorial. That is a combined ambitious goal that we have in conjunction with Duke. We want to make sure that we're able to do that. I do know that at the Department of Public Health, we continue to increase, and every day, every week, it's better and better. This has been a massive undertaking, and right now, we are currently striving as early as next week to be able to do 230 shots per day, a little over 1,000 per week. You know, as Commissioner Jacobs can attest from the Recovery and Renewal Task Force, I think I said 200, but every day I get a little bit more ambitious because I know we can do it. I know we can. So we have reached out to the state for additional help with assets. Being the North Carolina National Guard, we've requested them to come help us in Durham. We've requested some additional surge individuals, 20 vaccinators, 10 non-affiliated individuals to help with data entry. And I am most confident that when we receive these additional assets, Commissioner Carter will be able to increase our food. I'm also, I also feel confident that our community partnerships, Lincoln has also reached out and said, hey, if you need some help vaccinating seniors, we'd be more than happy to get some additional vaccine from you to help you out. So again, this is Durham doing what Durham does, coming together, making it happen.
Okay, I think I saw Commissioner Burns' hand.
How you
And I'll-
doing, Director Jenkins? Hope you're doing well. I think Netta actually got my question, and you knocked out a lot of my questions. I think after I've been, people think when I raise my hand, it's, Spanish Inquisition, it's grand jury trial. It's really not. Just a black woman asking questions because she was elected to do so. That's really all it is. One of the things that you talked about, there are other counties that are in different phases, right? And so they're in different phases because they do not have as many healthcare professionals as we do. Don't have the congestion around some of these long-term healthcare facilities that we have. The state put out a website that said, this is how many people have gotten injections, this is their race, this is their age, and so of course, race was white, gender was female, and age was below 45. Well, it made perfect sense to me because I was like, who are some of our nurses that are getting some of these injections? So it made sense statewide that was who was getting it. So I really appreciate, my first question for you was really going to be about, individuals saying, why is Durham as opposed to Charlotte and some other places in these phases? So you hit that, so thank you for that, because I can go out and feel confident about telling the public, this is really us trying to get our first responders and our seniors in these facilities prepped and ready. So you hit that, and I want everybody else to feel confident about it because we went through that part, but I want the community to get that. My other question is around safety. Now, we saw that individual take 5 and out of a box, and then they had to throw the whole 500 away. I know you got the National Guard. I know Accorded Central is helping you. Do you feel comfortable and confident around with the security that you have around it? And if not, is there anything in addition, things that we should be thinking about creatively to make sure that you have what you need to keep these vaccinations safe?
Good evening to you, Commissioner Burns, and I will say that I don't know whether or not it's the old soldier in me or the fact
that's
that
right. That's right.
or the fact that I just simply know that this is precious life-saving elixir that we have in our possession, and I want to be good stewards of it, but I thought it not robbery to reach out to General Services and ask for additional security before we even receive the first vial of Moderna. So security is not an issue. I have provided specific instructions to staff that they are not to waste any vaccine. So we have pre-fillers who are registered nurses who definitely know exactly what they're doing in terms of making sure that every dose is delivered to the nurses for injections that are accurate. A little bit of discrepancy between Moderna and Pfizer, but we're working our way through it. But to answer your question, we are making sure that we are being very vigilant and good stewards of the vaccines that we're receiving. Not analysis by paralysis, I'll say that, but they know that it's important that we get the vaccines out and not have it on the shelf. But to answer your question, we're being ever vigilant to make sure that we take care of the vaccine.
Okay. Commissioner Jacobs. And just one other thing, I want to thank Rod and Joanne Years. You sent us a write-up that answered a lot of our questions, and I just want to thank you for such that was great. A lot of the questions that I had are answered in that report that you sent us. So I don't have any questions right now, but let's go to Commissioner Jacobs and we can get your questions.
First of all, Rod, I want to say I'm so excited to hear about Southern High School being a hub. That is just awesome. I'm just thrilled to hear that. And of course, we've talked about this before at the Recovery and Renewal Task Force about the importance of having locations that are trusted locations in the community. And I just also love the partnership. I'm wondering, could you talk a little bit about what the process looks like for like where we're at now and what people should expect that first week of January 19th, what it will actually look like for people in terms of, are they going to call up and make an appointment? Because we're starting to get, for instance, I'm getting contacted by people who are saying, well, they're trying to call the Duke Health number and they're waiting for hours, or then they finally get through and there are no appointments are left. And this goes into the patient's message, which I actually put that out on my social media on Friday after I heard you speak at the Recovery and Renewal Task Force, and I saw your message, your video message. But I think, just giving people the information they need helps, just to kind of calm people down too, and helps with confusion. So if you could help, and then also how the public health department, you're doing the Moderna, whereas Duke has the Pfizer. And so if you could just talk a little bit about what people should expect with that.
Sure, absolutely. And good evening to you, Commissioner Jacobs, and we thank you so much for all that you do, as well as the other commissioners. I'll just give you an example of 75 plus. As I say from time to time, Durham leads the way, and I don't use that as just a moniker. We were approached by the state, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, to do a public service announcement for seniors 75 years and older. And we use that sort of as our soft launch. That was requested of us on, I believe it was Tuesday of last week. We made it happen by Friday. For the most part, we did have some prominent seniors like Mickey Michelle, who came with his wife, and a number of different individuals, and it was a delightful experience. Some lessons were certainly learned. Of course, we have a sort of a trailer apparatus for screening. We did realize that seniors would probably not want to traverse across the street. We did realize that, mobility issues are there. And we also know that, the COVID vaccine management system is a little tedious, so there's definitely a need for paper application. To get to the crux of your question, we do plan on having a dedicated site for self-scheduling to hopefully be launched within the near future. We will also have a dedicated line for scheduling, hopefully established by the end of this week. I did, again, make the executive decision not to just jump into phase 1B because I wanted to make sure we did it the right way. I thank you for the resounding remembering to speak about patience, because even Duke, powerful as they are, they did run out of some slots early on, and it's bound to happen. But nevertheless, we are confident that everybody will be able to get their shot. Once they're able to get their schedule, then of course, they provide us with their email address. We do a lot of emails and stuff. And, for the most part, we do have our residents who no access to email or anything. We take care of, we make sure we take care of sending them information in advance. As much as we can give them as possible, prior to them coming. And should they show up and they have a schedule, we're going to take care of them as well. When they come in, they're going to come into a caring, clean, and very nurturing environment. And that was some of the comments that I received from our seniors and many others. They thought that the process was efficient. They thought the process was well thought out. And they thought it not robbery to bring back treats and cookies. And we're supposed to be on these New Year's diets and stuff. But it's just indicative of staff just really caring about our residents. And we hope to continue that even on a much grander scale when we really ramp up and hopefully be able to do anywhere from 500 to 1,000 a day. I know it's going to happen, but we are endeavoring to make it a very, very easy process for our residents. And so far, so good, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you so much. That you always do a wonderful job reporting to the public and to us. So, and I thank you again for the emails that you've been sending us with the information that to keep us informed.
Yes, ma'am. And Madam Chair, I just add one more thing. I do know that my commissioners are receiving a number of emails along with our public information officers.
Yes.
I do intend to, beginning tomorrow at 11:30, allow some time for the media, about roughly 30 to 45 minutes per day to answer their questions,
Yes.
to further get the word out and to really make sure that folks understand the process and answer any questions to alleviate any ambiguity.
Yeah, I have one to forward to you as well from the media. I didn't have an opportunity to call back today, and I'll just send it to you and have you respond to that.
More than happy to, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, we are down to public hearings. The first public hearing is 0005 Landscape Manual for Durham revisions. And this one is Jessica, Planning Department, Sarah Young, the individuals, the staff persons on this. So we will ask the staff to report this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. I just wanted to start by introducing to you Danny Coltra. He has been one of the lead staff members working on this, and he will be presenting a brief introduction and helping to answer questions.
Thank you, Monica. Good evening, Madam Chair Howerton, Madam Vice Chair Jacobs, and honorable members of the Durham County Board of Commissioners. I'm Danny Coltra, Senior Planner representing the Planning Department. First, I would like to state for the record that this planning agenda item has been advertised and noticed in accordance with all state and local law, and affidavits for the notices are on file with the Planning Department. What is being presented tonight are revisions to the Durham Landscape Manual. Last year, members of the department were tasked with updating the manual since its initial adoption in December of 2005 and last revisions of April 2013. Through efforts from members of the Planning Department, the Department of General Services, Landscape and Urban Forestry Division, and partnerships with various members of the Durham Environmental Coalition, we're hopeful that you will support these changes and adopt this document. Next slide, please. Through the course of the process, there were certain areas we felt needed to be addressed in order to bring the manual up to the current industry standard. One were text revisions, 2 UDO amendments and new planting installation certifications, 3 plant chart revisions, 4 revised planting details and examples, and 5 future recommendations. Next slide, please. For the text revisions, the text in the manual was updated to reflect the current best industry practice. We removed recommended practices and revised the manual to only reflect required practices and technique. We did, however, add some eco-friendly tips to promote ecologically sound installation and maintenance practices, in addition to the water-wise and water conservation tips that currently reside in the manual. Next slide, please. Regarding UDO amendments and new planting installation certifications, through dialogue with our environmental coalition partners, There was a push to utilize more native species in Durham, which promote better wildlife habitat and ecosystems versus using non-native vegetation. We recognize that the landscape manual would not be the best tool to ensure these practices were met. Therefore, recommendations for some UDO text amendments were made, such as utilizing all native species and tree replacement and repairing and buffer revegetation and mitigation areas. Also, a recommendation was made for a text amendment to require that a licensed landscape architect or licensed landscape contractor must certify that the correct planting practices in the manual have been utilized, which will help to ensure the livability of plant materials. These amendments should be coming to the governing bodies in the near future. Next slide. For the revisions to the plant tables, the invasive species list was updated. We reviewed current allowed vegetation against local and national plant data, and as a result, expanded the prohibited plant list in the manual based on recommendations from urban forestry staff, the Durham Environmental Coalition, and NC State University resources. Next slide, please. We reorganized the current plant tables and condensed from 8 large tables consisting of 248 pages down to 4 tables consisting of approximately 142 pages, and also adjusted the graphics for better legibility in order to provide the user with a more efficient process for plant selection. The way this was accomplished was to group all native and non-native species together, adding symbol keys for identification, removing the individual named cultivars, removing ambiguous designations, and streamlining the water-wise planting conditions and cultural notes information. Next slide, please. This is a current graphic of the existing plant tree table. Next slide, please. And this is what the new plant tables will look like. They're more concise. All the information is grouped where it's very readable, and it's much more searchable. Next slide, please. Same thing with the shrub plant table formats. This is their existing formats. Next slide, please. And this is an example of the new shrub table format. Same thing, very concise language, and all of the group use categories, everything's grouped where it's very easily defined things. Next slide, please. As to the planning details, the manual contained poor quality graphic details with illegible text, and the goal was to update those with cleaner, more legible details that meet the current best industry practices and standards. Next slide, please. These were the existing details within the manual, examples of those, and next slide. And these are some of the examples of the new details that have been updated based on industry standards, and also with new text and graphics so that they're clear and legible. Next slide. And finally, based on dialogue with our environmental partners, the planning department has committed to revisiting potential updates on a 5-year cycle, which is much more frequent than has been performed in the past. This will help to ensure that any invasive species that move from a potential watch list to an actual invasive list can be placed in the Durham manual's prohibited list. And as landscape industry practices and standards change, we can update the manual accordingly to remain current. And that's in, and staff's available for any questions in the presentation or materials you.
Thank you, Danny, for your presentation. Are there questions from commissioners? Commissioner Jacobs?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to congratulate the staff, all the planning staff, and all the community partners that worked on this update to the landscape manual. It's a great government community collaboration, and I think it's terrific. It's much more user-friendly, and it's going to be, I think, more effective in not only promoting environmentally sustainable plants, but even just thinking about protection of our watersheds and water quality in terms of things like soil runoff and equity when we think about trees being planted that then don't survive, and how it impacts neighborhoods. Just the fact that hopefully trees and shrubs will be planted the correct way and will survive and be able to make people's lives better. So I just want to say I appreciate all of your work. Thank you so much.
So at this point, we will open the public hearing. The clerk, are there any comments from the public?
No, ma'am, there were no citizen comments that were received during the comment period. There was one comment received after the period, and I did email it to you guys.
Okay, and any other speakers? Not, I will close the public hearing. So in closing the public hearing, that means that we're closing the public hearing for any additional comments other than the ones that can be written and sent to the clerk for the next 24 hours due to a new law that we have. So any further comments would be the comments that are written by the public within the 24 hours. In the meantime, we can go ahead and I think we can make a motion to approve this, or do we just recess it? The manager, do we make a motion to approve it, or do we just recess it?
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to have to yield to the county attorney because he was the
Okay.
one who essentially received the most recent opinion from the attorneys at the School of Government about that law. Laurel, are you prepared to respond?
The county attorney is on the line. He did have difficulties with his computer, so he had to call in. Just give us 1 second.
Hello?
Mr. Attorney, just determining whether we make a motion on this, or do we just recess it for the next 24 hours?
Commissioners, what you do is announce that anyone wishing to provide written comment will have 24 hours after today's meeting. And then you just recess the decision until the next regular meeting, which is the 25th.
Okay, there it is. So we will recess it until the 25th. Okay, thank you, Mr. Attorney. And then we will move on to the next item, 0022, and that's a public hearing to consider allocating economic development funds to Tasha Gene Therapeutics. And that staff person on that item is Andy.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Howerton. Good evening, Commissioners. Andy Miracle, Durham County Economic Development Officer. The board is requested to hold a public hearing to consider allocating a total of $540,000 to Tastiest Gene Therapies and authorize the county manager to enter into preliminary negotiations and execute an agreement with the company that will create 201 jobs and invest $75 million. Tastiest Gene Therapies, headquartered in Dallas, Texas, is developing an extensive portfolio of gene therapies focused on monogenic diseases of the central nervous system and expects to file as many as 4 investigational new drug applications for its product candidate next year. In Durham, through the company's capital investment occurring over 2.5 years, they will build out and operate an approximately 187,000 square foot commercial scale manufacturing facility for preclinical, clinical, and commercial production of its gene therapy product candidate. The site will be developed to meet the rigorous FDA benchmark of a current good manufacturing practices facility. With approval of the award, the company has agreed to make reasonable efforts to participate in several workforce partnerships that include engagements with Durham Public Schools Career and Technical Education, Durham Technical Community College, and North Carolina Central University. Please find additional project details, including a full list of partnership terms and project attributes, in the briefing sheet attached to the agenda item. TASIA's expansion in North Carolina will be facilitated in part by a job development investment grant approved by the state's Economic Investment Committee on December 17th. Over the course of the 12-year term of the grant, the project is estimated to grow the state's economy by $772 million. Payments for all JDIG and local awards only occur following performance verification that the company has met its incremental job creation and investment targets. The anticipated revenue that the project will generate is at least twice the size of the proposed local award, and payment to the company occurs only after the annual verification of jobs and investment criteria, with capital investments starting in 2021. Staff is recommending that the county provide $540,000 in economic and development investment funds to TASIA Gene Therapies, subject to performance goals being met by the company related to timing and amount of investment, employment creation, and maintenance of the created jobs, as well as partnership engagement criteria. The public hearing has been advertised as required by law. That concludes my comments, and I will note that we do have two representatives from the company joining us tonight to make comments, and I can introduce them when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Commissioners have questions for the staff at this time. Commissioner Jacobs, you raise your hand.
Well, I guess I could wait on my question, but since I was actually just fixing something on my screen.
Okay.
But I can say something now, or I can wait. It's up to you.
If you want to wait until
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can wait.
All right. I will open the public hearing, and clerk, were there any comments?
We do have a representative from the Durham Chamber, Brian Fox, on the line that would like to speak.
Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
Good evening. Good evening, Commissioners, Madam Chair, Mr. Manager, staff, neighbors, and friends. On behalf of the Greater Durham Chamber of Commerce, thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this partnership to bring an exciting and innovative manufacturer here that will benefit all Durham residents, both directly and indirectly. It is truly an honor for us all to enable this important health work and continue to increase access and equity in these opportunities across our community, and especially to growing industries. We look forward to continuing to encourage private investments like this to support all of our shared priorities together, and thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And Andy, you would like to introduce the other speakers?
That is correct. Thank you, Chair. We do have joining us tonight from the company, Fred Porter, who is the Chief Technical Officer, as well as Greg Guerra, who is the Senior Vice President of Manufacturing, and I believe at least one of them will be making comments tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Fred Porter, Chief Technical Officer at TASIA Gene Therapies. It's a pleasure to be able to join your meeting tonight, and we're excited about the opportunity to join your community. Our interest in Durham is not of random chance. I think you have a juxtaposition of a great talent and a growing technological hub, and we really look forward to building out this facility to bring these medicines to patients, and also working with the community to develop these therapies and bring great jobs to the Triangle, and very much look forward to your partnership. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Greg Guerra, Senior Vice President of Manufacturing for Tatia. Again, thank you guys for the opportunity and the time. Just a quick few facts. Andy did a really good job kind of summarizing the property, but it's a 187.5 square foot facility. We'll have it equipped with clean room manufacturing, associated warehouse, lab space, and then the necessary office space for staff for the approximately 200 people. Where we're at currently in the process is looking to select a preferred architectural and engineering vendor. All of our vendors that are on the list are local. They are sitting in Durham. They are also looking to practice both clean and sustainability construction, I know is important, especially in today's environment. With that, I'll conclude. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Commissioners, do you have questions?
Chair Howerton, we do have
Director, go ahead.
hand up, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to the Tatia representatives who are here with us tonight. So I appreciate the things.
Excuse me, Commissioner Jacobs, just a second. Let me close the public hearing, then bring it back.
Okay.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing and then bring it back to the commissioners to have their comments or questions. Okay, thank you. Go ahead now.
So I know we have the list of some of the things that you've committed to, which is great because our board is really, well, I mean, what we really care about is Durham residents being in line for these great jobs. And we really look, we like seeing a range of education levels and good paying jobs and things like that. So I appreciate the partnerships that you have listed there. I did notice though that you didn't mention anything about internships or apprenticeships. Is that something that you think you would be open to in the future with Durham Tech students or with high school students? Just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, Commissioner Jacobs, that's a great question. And certainly we have a lot of hiring and training to do as part of bringing this facility online. As we, as Greg mentioned, we're just in the process of building the facility, but certainly once it's operational, one of the things that I've loved to do, and I've been in the biotech business in the Triangle for over a decade, is develop talent through internships. And that means working with local universities. And I think one of the things that we've discussed, Greg and myself and our team, is building those relationships. We're new to the Triangle as a company, but we're not new as biotech professionals in the space. And certainly something that we look forward to doing once we have a facility to train people in.
Okay, fantastic. Yep. And, I understand that it is about relationships and we want to make sure Andy's a one-man show, but we do want to make sure that we connect you all with the right people at, in our public schools at Durham Tech and, North Carolina Central University, so that we can, help make those connections so that you have the talent that you're looking for. And my other question was related to that, but you kind of answered it, which was, I was going to ask, how do you think you're going to go about actually doing your hiring and finding people? So I know you mentioned in the list about NC Works, but how do you generally hire or find people that you for your company?
Well, that's a great question, and I think we need to use all avenues for hiring talent in a space as competitive as this is, and that's developing talent organically through relationships with universities, job fairs, as well as kind of recruiting across our network. And we all believe in building talent through education. And in fact, I had an opportunity to speak as an outside speaker at the Bright program at NC Central, do similar things to that. I spent some time at Duke before joining these more recent gene therapy programs. So I think building those relationships and extending on them, and then certainly if there are other connections you can help assist us in making, we'd be open to those connections. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It sounds like you have some relationships and networks already, and I think any of our board members would be happy to assist you when you guys are up and running. And I just want to mention, Andy, and maybe Brian can comment on this. In the chamber newsletter today, there was a link to a new newsletter on life science manufacturing. I was really excited to see that, and I don't know if Brian or Andy, you could tell us a little bit more about it, and it would certainly be a great thing for Tasha to be a part of, but I was really excited to see that. Do either of you know anything more about that new site, new website that was in your newsletter?
I'll just note that we're excited to be in the process of rolling out some exciting developments through the Bulls initiative that we've all been working on, and I think we look forward to updating the board and the community in general on all the exciting work going on in the life sciences sector at a future date.
Okay, well, thank you. Look forward to hearing more about that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any other questions for commissioners? Well, again, thank you for coming to Durham and bringing this extraordinary business to our fair city and county. The first thing I saw on the printout, Andy, was about Durham Public School career and technical education programs and the whole list of things that's outlined here. We look forward to working with you and building relationships and partnerships with you as you build your company right here in the good old city of Durham.
Commissioner Howerton.
Yes.
This was because we got a lot of this information, some early on, but I did want to point out, I don't want you all to take our silences. We're like, we don't care about, like, we're excited. You can't tell, but this is what it looks like. And we, be worried when we're asking questions. That is what, I don't want you to, look, that point of levity, I got both of you to smile. Mr. Garrett, you would just, he said, I don't like it. I feel like y'all was sending texts, so let me help you out. Like, we're happy that you're coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to echo the sentiments of both my chair and vice chair, but this new board is very much so engaged in workforce development across the board. All 5 of these very wonderful, intelligent women. And I just want you to know that we're one of the few counties in the South that the numbers are not the same this year, but we face the 2-to-1 ratio with folks looking for work and open jobs. And we had a skills gap issue. As companies seek to come into Durham, we want to make sure that everything that you said you would do, we want to make sure we're ticking those boxes. So if there's an additive manufacturing 6-week incubator that we need to set up in the community college, you need to ask one of us to help you all with that process. We're more than happy to do it. I see that you all did want to work with the MWP program. That's great. I think a lot of folks want to do that now, and that's great because the effort is important, but they don't necessarily know how to put it into place. Please know that in the triangle, there are many individuals that know how to do that work, partner with that work. So if it is not currently, I think it is in the marrow right now, if it is not currently solidified in the marrow of your organization, please know that we know the partners that can help you do that work, not just from an employment standpoint, but from a contractual standpoint. So know that we're here to support you, and we're smiling on it. So, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
So as you can see, we have fully engaged commissioners, and we are truly looking to build relationships with you so that we can support you in all the things that's on this list. So I say thank you again, and If there are no other questions, we will move to, let's see, do we get a motion? So I'm gonna move on to get a motion for tonight. We will close, we will
Recess.
adjourn, we will recess the meeting for 24 hours for the public to be able to send in emails or comments that they would like to send in. But we thank you for being here tonight and thank you for your partnership in Durham.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Have a nice evening.
You
See you
too.
guys.
Okay, so that's recess. The next, we have
Just have
two.
And Madam Chair, so are we voting on this on the 25th as well?
Yes,
Okay, thank
we
you.
have two items that have been recessed until the 25th. We had two items that were pulled. That was 0033, I believe.
0032 and 003.
Okay. So I think one was Heidi, you pulled the one for 0003.
Yes.
Okay, you want to go ahead and comment on that one?
Sure. I don't want to hold this up. Don't want to discombobulate any of us either. I know we all support this, and it was on consent because of that fact. And I really also wanted to say how much I appreciated Commissioner Burns reaching out and suggesting something if we, if we've had concerns about the fact that when we approve any additional funding for the learning centers, it won't be until the 25th, which then only allows families 5 days really, if no funding extension occurs at that time. I'm hoping that it will, but families won't know until the 25th, and also I guess staff won't know either until the 25th. Commissioner Burns had said if this is an issue for folks, she suggested maybe having a special meeting sooner than the 25th, because that would allow some more time, to give families and staff members confidence that we are going to approve more than just this 2-week extension. So I just really wanted to see if folks were interested in doing either that or funding it for another 2 weeks, just to give families more time, give our staff more time to prepare for the 25th. I felt like if we were able either to make a decision sooner by way of a special meeting, or tonight decide to extend the funding not by 2 weeks, but by another 2 weeks perhaps, that would give families more time to know what's coming, and it would also give the Learning Center staff more time to know what's coming. Does that make sense?
Well, I do want to clarify that I made that suggestion based on the fact that a question was posed to everybody about adding this to the agenda on the 11th. Out of respect for staff, pulling in taxes, and the fact that they had the triple bond, that they had to do they had to meet with the bonding agency. I didn't want to throw that on them. So I did reach out to those local nonprofits and said, is liquidity an issue, or are you comfortable with this being on the 25th? And many of them said that they did not feel, 75% of them actually said that they did, and that's because that's who got back to me. Said that they did not feel the need to rush the vote from the 25th to the 11th. And I said, in the event that any of you feel so pressured, or if liquidity becomes an issue, if you feel that the parents or the students need additional time, by all means, please reach back out to us, and I will see if the other commissioners would be open to actually voting in a special session to do this earlier. So I do want to add some context around it. It wasn't just me saying, let's do a special meeting. I took the time because Commissioner Long wanted to do it tonight. I didn't want to put a burden on staff. And so I took it upon myself to reach out to the nonprofits who made the request. And I can say no one has reached out to me to say that they did need it in any special amount of time. Now, again, it's up to the board if you all have gotten any additional word from anybody who says, you know what, this is a problem, this is a burden for us. And so I want to give it some context.
And I've had, and Commissioner Carter and Commissioner Burns, I've also had conversation with Forrest, and you received an email as well that the 24th is fine. They will be fine. That tonight we're not prepared to vote on this tonight. We have no information from staff regarding this item. Because we received an email that this would be fine to put on the agenda on the 24th. So, and we're all interested in taking care of our children. That is absolutely no concern. That we are just not prepared to vote on this tonight. We have no information whatsoever. Staff have not been able to do their due diligence. So, my information is that they would be fine for by the 24th. Commissioner Alam?
I just had a question. If any of the fellow commissioners or if even staff has an idea around, do we know how far out the Hope Learning Centers have funding for, like not just from the county, but also from DPS Foundation? And if not, like I can reach out to find that out just to so I can have an understanding of, we'll have this vote on the 25th, but just how far out after the 25th funding is for,
Well, the foundation, DPS, the foundation is their fiscal agent. So they write the check for the Help Learning Center, and then our funds go to the foundation. So the Hope Learning Centers are fine. That's the information that I received. And we will do what we need to do on the 24th. But right today, the staff hasn't had an opportunity to do any due diligence for us to even engage in this conversation tonight.
I was just asking if this information was already available from prior, but thank you.
I don't know. I guess the county manager or Drew could answer that question. I don't have it.
Well, this is Drew Cummings. Good evening, commissioners. I'm not sure. I think it gets back to the question of liquidity that Commissioner Burns raised, and I'm not certain of the liquidity situation of the foundation or of the individual organizations. We can check with them.
Thank you.
And also, to be clear, Commissioner Carter, if we get a call on tomorrow or on another day and they said, you know what, we have, and I also want to put this out here for the community, because the community seems to have a lot of misinformation, especially based on the emails that I get. Everybody on this board is in support of the centers. Everybody on here can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we also know, and we've gone back and forth about timing, about whether or not, this county commission has rolled out a beautiful 18-month plan on what it takes to actually apply to get funding from the county by a nonprofit. And here it is, not saying that we have three groups trying to circumvent the process. By all means, they provide a necessity for our community. So I want the community to really understand this is not us trying to keep families and children getting the help that they need. Many of us have background. I find it hard to believe that this request came in so late. We understand why now, because people do budget projections and they do forecast their finances. And so for me, especially with the background I have, red flags go up when requests come in late. We have a process in place that the county has outside of an emergency that has a pretty high standard for what one has to have and what one has. And I think everyone on here can agree that there have been requests that were made and emails that were not sent, and that people on this board have been more than lenient. And I do mean more than lenient. And we have gone outside of just these working sessions and these regular sessions. You know, like you, Commissioner Carter mentioned, I called everyone myself on the phone. I've actually been to one, and then this week I had somebody question and sent out an email saying, I don't believe that Commissioner Burns has actually been to a learning center. Why would, makes absolutely no sense to me at all. So we're here to support folks. We're here to ask the very tough questions, but I don't want the community to leave here with the sense of we don't want to support the Hope Learning Center. Right now, your tax dollars go to pay for things that are going to help the most people that we can possibly help in this community. At a time during COVID, when you're giving your last pennies to us, I don't just want to look at constituents. I want to look at my neighbors, and I want to be able to say I did the best that I could with what you gave me and feel confident about that. And I do feel confident that learning centers are a worthy project. I absolutely do. And that is why I took the time this week to call everybody on the phone and to call every learning center on the phone. And while I ask for budget, it's because I care and I want to make sure that they get it right. And so I did just want to put that out on the record, because just the misinformation campaign about how we don't care about the learning center, it really has to stop. And I'm not saying that anybody here said it, I'm not saying anybody else put it out, but I just want to make that very clear for folks out there, for the school board, for the parents, for the folks who are working in the Hope Learning Center. And if you all somehow figure out how to vote on it tonight, I'm sure you will, because that happens a lot on this county commission, a lot of bait and switch. You won't hear a nay from me, but I want the community to understand that there's this word called process. And it is my hope that I don't circumvent that, because when I do that, I ignore you all. And that was all I had to say.
I guess I wasn't clear. I didn't suggest we vote tonight. That was not my suggestion at all. I was asking if there was interest that aligns with my interest of trying to make sure that families know how long their children are going to be able to attend learning centers. They're only going to have a week at our current pace of decision making. So I thought maybe we would have that special meeting. If people are unready for that, that's fine. I really didn't want to stir the pot.
But that's not true, Commissioner Carter. They're not. It's not that they're going to be fine. What I heard from Forrest with the YMCA, that they are not going to miss a beat. So I don't know where there's so much misinformation here. My recommendation is that we support what we've got on this agenda tonight. What we've got on this agenda tonight is not what we're discussing right now. That we go ahead and approve what we've got on this agenda, and then allow staff to come back once they get through tomorrow, come back with us once they do their due diligence to us with the documentation and the process that need to happen.
That's totally fine.
That's a different.
That's totally fine.
That's a different process.
My only concern was, again, if I had a child in the learning center and I knew that they were going to get to attend that learning center through the end of January, but I didn't know what was going to happen starting February 1st, I would be a little bit panicked right now, because I wouldn't know what childcare arrangements, what learning arrangements I would have for my child. That's the only thing I am even thinking about here, honestly, is that one simple issue. And that's why I thought, well, maybe there would be interest in having the special meeting, so we could, if staff's ready next week, we could go ahead and give families the assurance that this is going forward beyond the end of January.
And that's a great question, Commissioner Carter. But you know what I would also add to that? You're right. If you're a parent, if you are a parent and you're worried about whether or not my kid will be there, I would also throw this into the fray again, because I want the public to decide. Then I would question that nonprofit and why in the world it took this long for this to come to us. And I would question whether or not I would want that nonprofit to work with my child. That's not these nonprofits. And it could be. I would question why, when you have my child's life and education in your hands, why did it take this long? Why has the can been kicked this far? How come you did not forecast your finances? How come your budgetary constraints did not take into account the human resources capacity? These are the questions that any good nonprofit, and one of these nonprofits has been around almost, I won't say 100 years. YMCA has been around a very long time. We have folks who have CFOs who can do this type of stuff in their sleep. So a last minute budget request should not be it. So you're right. If I was a parent, I would definitely be asking the questions to these individuals who are charged with taking care of my children. And I'll say this: no matter what happens, and I want this to be public, since they since they have over $1 million in public funds, I'm happy that they invited us out to come and see them, because I will not be coming along. I will be bringing out internal auditor, because what we need to do is make sure that they don't make this mistake again, especially when children and parents' lives are on the line.
Again, commissioners, what you are discussing right now is not on the agenda. That's not what we are looking at now. You're talking about a different item. So I'm asking you to, let's move this item that we have on the agenda, and we can have that's a different conversation you're having right now. It's not on the agenda. Commissioner Jacobs, can you? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to a few things that have been said. Well, first of all, Commissioner Alam, when the history of this item is that this has been a response to COVID. This is what has, we had these organizations from the community respond to a need in the community and frankly step forward and create something that is helping people in our community, helping our families, a really critical need. And I really appreciate what they've done. And they have been very forthcoming. The series of reports that they have given to us have been on a regular basis. And we knew all along when they presented to us that they would be coming back depending on what the needs were in the community. And so we knew back in early December, they actually presented what they would be asking us, their full request for the rest of the year. Since that time, we heard at our December 14th meeting, I believe, that they would, or maybe it was at this past meeting at the work session, that they would be able to, they're going to approach Durham Public Schools Foundation for the fourth quarter, the last quarter of the year. So they're just coming to us now for the remainder of the third quarter, which is basically February and March. So because you asked the question, Commissioner Alam, about what is the story for the rest of the year, that's what they have presented to us. But they have all along been providing us with their due diligence. But I would just want to clarify, and I understand there's confusion about this because at the end of our last meeting, we stated that we would be taking it up at our January 11th. We've since then moved it to the 25th. But I think and Commissioner Burns, I really appreciate what you did, calling all of us and calling the providers and coming up with what I thought was a brilliant creative solution, which is that next week is kind of a compromise because it's not the 11th and it's not the 25th, and it's kind of just gives the decision more time to help address, I think, the concern that Commissioner Carter has about making sure that families can make necessary arrangements if they have working parents or their parents are looking for work. It just gives a little bit more of a buffer for decision making. So I thought it was a great solution, frankly, to try to be a win-win and address everybody's concerns. So I'm you know, if we can do a special meeting next week and take it up, and that way we address all the concerns, I think that's a great idea.
Oh, excuse me, Ms. Jacobs. This is where the confusion gets and the communication gets all discombobulated. Now, the information that I've got, and I've talked to Forrest and from the Y, what you're saying is not what is being said to me. So that's why I'm asking you, commissioners, to vote on the item that we have on the agenda, and then have the staff reach back out to folks and get it in writing, what is being said, what is being communicated, so that we are all on the same page, because this just causes confusion. So can I get you to move this item that we have on the agenda? Can we get a vote for this item that's a consent item?
Move the item, Madam Chair.
Thank
Second.
you. Can
I'll second that.
all in favor? Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Alum,
Aye.
Commissioner Burns,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So moves 5-0. So the other item is one that 0035. Is it 35 or 33? Commissioner Jake.
3-2, Chair Howard.
Okay, Commissioner 3-2.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that was on, I think that was Commissioner Jacobs' item.
Yeah, I just had some questions about, because this this just got added to our agenda. I think it was yesterday. So if we could hear a little bit more, is this is the current contract ending, and so we need to continue it, or is this actually adding that we need more people than we currently have working right now? If you could just explain that a little bit, and I have some other questions.
Okay, sure. And Dara will jump in to give more details. This is a continuation of the existing contract that we have. We added screeners to help us staffing-wise with the Health Human Services building and admin too. And Dara can speak to this, but we've adjusted the number of screeners based on patterns that we've seen. So we had a higher number when we started out, and then based on the volume of traffic, we've adjusted accordingly to make sure that we are being judicious with that. So this continues that service. We do use staff as well, but the challenge becomes we're moving people who from their normal jobs to do this work, and their regular jobs often may not have someone to backfill. So this was a more cost-effective approach to do it, as well as optimizing the workload of the staff as well. And this is
So
also,
do we?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is it this? We, from a funding perspective, we applied CARES funding to offset the cost of this for the original amount of the services.
Okay, and what actual offices are open for the public in our Admin 2 building?
Sure, that's a great question. Tax administration, which we're glad are open. The Register of Deeds. I'm trying to think. There's lots of administrative offices that are the finance, our
EMS. administration?
EMS offices, so it does get a lot of traffic, so, but it's not the same volume that you have at the Human Services building. And we did have data in there as well that captured the number of individuals that have been screened, including the public as well as staff.
Okay. Because I think we've gotten some emails about people saying they can't pay their taxes at the tax office. So I did, yeah. So I don't know what is actually open, public facing at the tax right now.
Well, let me follow up on that, Commissioner Jacobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've gotten some emails about that. Okay, and I guess also,
Commissioner, could you
yes,
advance those emails to the tax administrator?
I did. Yes. Yes. And then I just want to also clarify, it's great that this is going to be FEMA eligible. And I also want to note, Claudia, thank you for adding in your budget summary. I think it was about $850,000 or $890,000 worth of expenses that you've identified.
Yes. And we actually had that table in our November 23rd document, but inadvertently it got left out in the December version. So when we added that, we showed that information. That expense also is one that we anticipate we can offset from other grant dollars as a possibility. And that's what happened before. As the way we do our work, we try to see what is the most optimal grant to offset. And if, for instance, and I do know public health has gotten some recent dollars, DSS as well, and if there are dollars that are applicable for screening and those kinds of things, we would cost allocate an apportioned amount of that to that because of the individuals that are seeing those respective services. So we try to optimize it to the extent that we can, but it is FEMA eligible for reimbursement, but we try to do the fastest approach.
Right, okay. And I guess I also want to just ask this because to me it's connected to the kind of source of funding for the Hope Learning Centers and just looking forward to future COVID related needs, because we know we are going to continue to have COVID funding needs, both internal to Durham County government, so this is an internal Durham County government need, and then for the external community needs that we're going to continue to have for the foreseeable future. And since we have this pot of the original 4.5 million and the 450,000 that's left, and so for this item, we're going to take the 130 out of that 450, which is now going to leave less for possibly funding the Hope Learning Centers. What do you foresee as also possible sources, related to that for funding the Hope Learning Centers?
That's a great question. So when we come back to the board with our projections, we will evaluate a couple of options. One, will we appropriate fund reserves for additional dollars? Or two, will we realign dollars that we set aside that were frozen positions? So one of the strategies, we unfortunately I have a whole bunch of experience with having shortfalls. The state taught me well. So the holdback of those vacant positions was our key and strategy for the second quarter. So it will serve twofold purposes. One, if we have huge revenue swings, we know that that's a place that can cushion it. Also, as we look at expenditures, that's another place that we can use for realignment. So when we come back to you, we will have a better picture of where are we with taxes, and then what is the strategy and how we're going to cover these gaps, because we know there's the priority with looking at the $15 per hour. There are I know we funded dollars for the unsheltered for a few more months, but then in looking at the numbers, we need to look beyond just the spring. And so we will look through June and beyond, and then project, well, what do we do internally? How do we manage what budget-wise we may need to pause so we can then focus on the main thing, because it's always life safety first. And then you look at others when you're trying to prioritize. And then looking at, what will we from a fund reserve may need to use, or what we may land with in that perspective. So it'll be a multi-pronged look at all available sources. But so it could be a couple of different options, Commissioner Jacobs, but that's the approach that we were planning to take. And from a standpoint, my first response is always, well, how do we slow down the budget so that we can, so for instance, if there are equipment purchases that haven't happened yet, or contracts for certain services that haven't happened yet, that's another place we would say, okay, let's look to see in the budget what areas we may need to slow down in order to cover this. We will take a very judicious approach, but making sure those highest priorities are met.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Thank you, Claudia.
Yeah. I just, one other question related.
We have really gone past our time for this item, so we can be, other questions, can you email Claudia, have budget questions, since she's not prepared for that at this moment?
Yeah, it's just more a question for the 24th, Claudia. If you can give us information about kind of how much we spent out of our fund balance last year on COVID and everything else versus this year, because one of the bright spots I noted from your summary is that this year we've only spent $100,000 out of fund balance on COVID-related expenses, which I think is amazing considering we're halfway through the fiscal year. So it will be helpful to have that perspective, because we spent almost $4 million between March and the end of June last year on COVID-related out of fund balance. So
we haven't spent any money out of fund balance on COVID-related issues. We spent $4.5 million. I mean, we budgeted $4.5 million out of our operational budget. We have not spent money from fund balance on COVID-related issues.
Well, can you explain that first chart then, Claudia?
Sure. So that's a great question, and I know Susan popped up. So, and I'm sure Keith would pop up too. So when we plan a budget, there's always this plug that says fund balance appropriated, but it is our intent to never use it.
Oh, buddy, you ready?
Okay, and I think someone's like. And so although we budgeted, so when you look at the chart, it's budgeted, it'll say fund balance appropriated, because that is how we initially increase the budget to cover those expenses. But when we got to the end of the fiscal year, with looking at revenues and expenditures, our revenues came in higher than we budgeted, and our expenditures were lower. So our revenues came in at about 102%, and our expenses were about 93%. So at the end of the day, we did not spend fund balance, but in order to increase the budget for the expense, because it wasn't originally appropriated, we had to use some of those reserves in order to make the dollars available. But at the end of the day, from an actual perspective, we did not spend those dollars. And if you may recall, and we'll have this kind of information when we talk on the 24th, we, in the budget conversations in June, showed the board various scenarios of projected year-end fund balance and fund reserves. And we talked about cash on hand and a whole lot of other types of things, and where we were in the recession in 2009 through 11, those comparisons to what we were thinking we're going to be with this one. So we'll have some different models with that as well, but I always give longer answers often than asked.
Well, I don't want to overly simplify this issue, but certainly for our two newest commissioners, while, it sounds ultimately complicated, the simple matter is this. Each year we balance our budget. We use a certain amount of fund balance in order to balance out our budget. If we think we bring $90 million worth of revenue, just as an example, we may use $10 million out of our fund balance in order to make certain that the budget is actually balanced, all with the intent of making sure that those dollars are never in fact being used or get used. And so that's effectively what we're saying. And given the mitigation strategies that we put in place when we built our budget last year, basically all we're saying is those mitigation strategies afforded us the opportunity to not only not spend fund balance, but to have the growth that we have enjoyed at the end of the year, i.e. keeping positions vacant, i.e. not doing pay increases and travel and all of those other things that we made a strategic decision to do.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Susan,
Yes,
you have
ma'am.
something?
Yes, I just wanted to say also, the factors that were put into the budget, the original budget in FY21, because we always want to manage to not use our fund balance if we possibly can. You have to add to that the factors that were put in place as soon as COVID hit. That's when positions were frozen. That's when, all these other factors were put into place. That's when funds were looked at and moved from one area of operating perhaps to COVID specific. So, and then of course in the fourth quarter, we did appropriate fund balance. In worst case scenario, we would have to spend it, but because the county did what we had to do and management made some very tough decisions, that it worked, and the growth in fund balance showed that it worked.
Thank you, Susan. Any other questions for the other commissioners? Okay, so Durham County Temporary Screening Staff Contract Amendment. This is 0032. What's the pleasure of the board? We gotta get a motion.
So moved
Okay.
for approval.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and a voice vote. Commissioner Lum,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. That's 5 to Commissioner Burns.
Aye.
I looked up. I said I didn't have your letter down here, so it's okay. And Commissioner Burns. So that's 5 to 0. Passes 5 to 0. So our next item, commissioners, is we have a closed session 0026. The board is requested to adjourn to closed session to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating, 1, the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or a proposal in employment contract pursuant to GS 143-318-11A5. We're in closed session.
Don't we need to vote on that? Did we vote on it?
I think we have to vote to go into closed session.
Yes, we do. Let me give the chair a call back. She actually has
I
ended.
think we have to vote on, I think we have to vote on that.
All right. Where's everybody?
All right, so now
They're here.
Here's
All right. So, oops, I forgot to ask for a motion to go into closed session.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into closed session for the reasons that you previously stated.
Thank you. Have a second.
Seconded.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, voice vote. Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Alum. Commissioner Alum.
Yes. Aye.
Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
And I'm an aye. That's 5-0. Now we go into closed session.
What is this?
well?
No, ma'am, it does not. That's just for public hearing.
Okay. Motion to approve the execution of a lease agreement between the county and Presidential Park West for 34,643 square feet of warehouse space located at 2330 Presidential Park West, consistent with the letter of intent dated January 6, 2021. I need a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. I don't know what the noise is coming from. And a voice vote. Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Commissioner Lum,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
and Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. It's 5-0. Passes. If there are no other business, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Need a second.
Second.
I think you
I
want
was gonna say, I know you guys want to.
I wondered if anybody wanted to stay longer. Okay, we got a motion and a second, voice vote. Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
and Commissioner Alum.
Yes.
Okay, 5-0. We've adjourned for the evening. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night.